Three experienced lighthouse keepers vanished without a trace from a remote Scottish island in December 1900. Their meals were left uneaten, their beds unmade, and one set of oilskins remained hanging by the door, suggesting whoever left last went into a raging Atlantic storm without protection. The lighthouse lamp, which never failed, had gone dark for the first time in its operational history. The Flannan Isles sit 20 miles west of the Outer Hebrides, a cluster of jagged rocks rising from the tempestuous Atlantic Ocean. For centuries, sailors called them the Seven Hunters, avoiding their treacherous shores where currents collided and storms materialized without warning. The islands were considered cursed by local tradition. Shepherds refused to graze sheep there, and fishermen would cross themselves when passing. In 1899, the Northern Lighthouse Board completed construction of a lighthouse on Eilean Moor, the largest of the Flannan Isles. The 75-foot tower represented the cutting edge of maritime safety technology, designed to guide vessels through one of Scotland's most dangerous shipping lanes. The installation cost nearly £8,000 and required nearly 2 years of challenging construction work. 3 keepers would rotate duty, with one remaining ashore while 2 manned the light in strict adherence to established protocols. James Ducat served as the principal keeper, a veteran of 20 years with an impeccable service record. Thomas Marshall acted as second assistant, known for his meticulous log-keeping and steady temperament. Donald MacArthur, the occasional keeper, was temporarily replacing the regular third assistant. All 3 men were described as experienced, reliable, and psychologically sound. The Northern Lighthouse Board maintained rigorous standards, and these men had passed every evaluation. On December 7, 1900, the 3 keepers began their rotation. The steamship Archer passed the Flannan Isles on the night of December 15th and noted the lighthouse was dark, an irregularity the captain recorded in his log, but attributed to possible fog. On December 21st, the relief vessel Hesperus arrived with Joseph Moore, the replacement keeper, prepared to begin his rotation. Moore immediately sensed something wrong. The entrance gate stood closed but unlocked. The main door was shut. No keepers appeared to greet the vessel, a violation of standard procedure. He called out repeatedly. Silence answered. Inside, the kitchen table held the remnants of a meal. 2 chairs sat properly placed, but a third lay overturned on the floor. The clock had stopped. In the entrance, 2 sets of oilskins hung on their designated hooks. The third set was missing. The lighthouse logbook told a fragmentary story. The final entry, dated December 15th, recorded unusual weather observations in Thomas Marshall's handwriting. He noted severe winds, though the entry's tone suggested unease beyond meteorological concern. More troubling were earlier entries describing storms of unprecedented violence, entries that contradicted weather records from the mainland and nearby islands, which reported relatively calm conditions during the same period. Moore and the Hesperus crew conducted a systematic search. They found both the east and west landings damaged, with sections of iron railings twisted and a supply box weighing over 100 weight torn from its concrete, mounting 70 feet above sea level. A life buoy had vanished, yet the destruction pattern was inconsistent. Some areas showed catastrophic force, while adjacent sections remained untouched. The Northern Lighthouse Board launched an immediate investigation. Superintendent Robert Muirhead personally examined the scene, documenting every detail. His official report emphasized the physical evidence: the overturned chair, the missing oilskins, the stopped clock, and the damage to the landing areas. He concluded that a massive wave had struck the west landing while Ducat and Marshall were securing equipment, and MacArthur, hearing their distress or seeing the danger, rushed out without his oilskins in a failed rescue attempt. However, several elements contradicted this scenario. Experienced keepers understood Atlantic storms intimately. They wouldn't venture to exposed landing areas during dangerous conditions. The lighthouse regulations explicitly forbade more than one keeper leaving the station simultaneously during storms. The logbook entries describing violent weather during calm periods suggested psychological distress, yet nothing in the men's backgrounds indicated instability. The meteorological evidence presented another puzzle. Shore stations recorded moderate weather on December 15th. The Archter's log mentioned the lighthouse being dark, but made no reference to exceptional storms. If a rogue wave of sufficient magnitude to cause the documented damage had struck, why did it leave no trace on the opposite side of the small island? Why were supplies stored at lower elevations completely undisturbed? Local residents contributed stranger testimony. Fishermen reported seeing unusual lights near the Flannan Isles in the days before the disappearance. Not the regular lighthouse beam, but multiple moving lights of varying colors. Others described hearing strange cries carried on the wind, though they admitted this could have been seabirds. The captain of a passing vessel claimed to have seen 3 figures on the landing platform gesturing frantically on December 14th, but this sighting occurred after the logbook's final entry and couldn't be corroborated. The theory of a catastrophic wave gained official acceptance primarily through elimination. The keepers clearly left the lighthouse together, violating protocols. The damage to the landings required enormous force. The missing life buoy suggested they were swept into the sea, yet this explanation required the men to make multiple fatal errors simultaneously, abandoning their post, ignoring established safety procedures, and misjudging conditions they were trained to evaluate. Alternative theories emerged over the decades. Some researchers proposed the keepers witnessed something traumatic, perhaps a foreign vessel engaged in illegal activities, and were eliminated to ensure silence. This would explain the missing bodies and the psychological distress evident in the logbook. However, no evidence of any vessel being in the area surfaced, and the theory requires an improbable conspiracy. Others suggested the men staged their own disappearance, though this fails to account for their abandoned possessions, including personal items of value. The overturned chair and stopped clock seem inconsistent with planned departure. The damage to the landing structures would have required deliberate sabotage, and no motive has been established for such an elaborate deception. A psychological breakdown affecting all 3 men simultaneously represents another hypothesis. The isolation, the winter darkness, and the constant sound of wind and waves could theoretically induce shared delusion. The logbook's references to storms that didn't exist might indicate deteriorating mental states. Yet the men's last shore leave occurred only 2 weeks before the disappearance, and no one reported concerning behavior. More recent analysis has focused on the forensic evidence with modern investigative techniques applied retrospectively. The stopped clock indicated the time was 8:45, but whether this was morning or evening remains unknown. The partially eaten meal suggested sudden interruption, but its composition provided no temporal clues. The single missing set of oilskins remains the most concrete piece of evidence, definitively proving one keeper left the lighthouse while 2 remained inside, at least initially. The Flannan Isles Lighthouse continues operating today, fully automated since 1971. The Northern Lighthouse Board maintains comprehensive records, and the 1900 incident remains the only unexplained disappearance in their institutional history. The Scottish Society for Psychical Research examined the case in 1912 but found no paranormal elements worth investigating. The file officially remains open, classified as an unsolved missing persons case. Recent investigations by maritime historians have attempted to model wave behavior around the Flannan Isles using computer simulations. These studies confirm that rogue waves of exceptional height do occasionally form in that specific area when currents and swells align. Such waves could reach the elevation necessary to cause the documented damage. However, the simulations also show these events occur perhaps once every 50 years and would leave evidence across the entire island, not just the West Landing. The human element remains most perplexing. 3 men with decades of combined experience, intimate knowledge of their environment, and strict adherence to safety protocols somehow found themselves in a situation where all 3 left the lighthouse and vanished completely. No bodies were ever recovered, no wreckage came ashore. The sea keeps its secrets well, but even the Atlantic usually returns something. Here at Knoxmore Tales, we examine these unexplained events not to sensationalize, but to understand how even the most experienced professionals can encounter situations beyond their training and preparation. The Flannan Isles case reminds us that nature operates on scales we struggle to comprehend, and that sometimes the absence of evidence itself becomes the most compelling evidence of all. Perhaps the 3 keepers of Flannan Isles didn't face a rogue wave or a conspiracy. Perhaps they simply encountered one of those rare moments when the ordinary rules of the world stop applying, if only for an instant. And that instant was enough. What do you think happened to James Ducat, Thomas Marshall, and Donald MacArthur on that December night? Was it a natural disaster, human error, or something we haven't yet considered? Share your theory in the comments, and if you want to explore more mysteries that defy easy explanation, subscribe to Knoxmore Tales, where every story leaves you questioning what you thought you knew.